Welcome back, guys. Let's take a look at MATIC and LUNA. These two are hitting new all-time highs. They're doing absolutely amazingly well while Bitcoin is down, cryptocurrency is down, and in particular, a huge ecosystem which has had amazing news but is getting absolutely crushed itself and its cryptos in its ecosystem. So we'll look at that. Of course, the news is no good. The news is down. The news is bad. It's making a lot of people feel like the world is going to come to an end yet again and crash into 2022. Of course, if you've been following the channel, which you should by hitting that like button, get these videos pop up in your feed, subscribe to the channel, bell notification icon so you can see them come up. 20% of you are doing that. And check us out, the link's down below. Free newsletter coming out on Wednesday, and of course Patreon is down there as well. So we are looking at this on a regular basis. The news is bad. The idea here is that we know that we're in a macro bull market because the markets generally don't dump on the absolute tops. All right, so when we are at a top and the news is bad, it's generally not a market top. You usually see market tops when the news is extremely good because you need to have everyone in the market with all their money, which means there's no one left to buy. That's how that's how the tops crash into the lows. And at the bottoms, you need to have all of the bad news out there as much as it can possibly jam into people's faces, because that's when pretty much everyone has stopped buying. Everyone is out on their knees, dropped everything. And that's when the prices can start to go back up. This is just Wyckoff accumulation and distribution. It's something that we've covered quite a lot, especially when it comes to Bitcoin following the trend down. The yellow line here is the Gann analysis, our Gann swing chart using Gann analysis. That's down. We're looking for a little break above the previous tops at around 49,000. So that's the first level. If you've been following here on the channel, Gann retracement, Gann extensions, 49,000 is the first level here using our 50%. So above it, strong, below it, weak. And then the macro is 36,000. So even if we get a dump, we are still in a macro bull all the way down to 28,000, which is where the lows are here. So we get a breakdown from that, game over. All right. But for now, we're still good. Above the 49, good stuff. Above 54 would be the ideal level to start to accumulate again. And I think we'd probably see a lot of altcoins pop off at that time. We're going to take a look at LUNA and MATIC as they hit all-time highs. But a quick reminder, 4,000 USD giveaway using the links down below for Bybit. And you also have up to $4,100 in the sign-up bonuses as you go through the sign-up process. So the 4,000 giveaway is drawn on the 3rd of January to you guys exclusively on this channel and my brother's channel. So it's a very small pool of people who have the opportunity to win that $4,000. Goes out to 4 people, $1,000 of Ethereum each drawn on the 3rd. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, bell notification icon. This week, your free newsletter as well. Cryptocurrencies, financial markets, property cycles, all that good stuff over there. So let's take a look at what is going on with MATIC. At the moment, MATIC has had a vote on, Uniswap's had the vote, and they'll be deploying onto Polygon. We covered this yesterday, looking at the all-time high prices of MATIC. So this is a lot of good news, but remember we're in this crazy, weird, bearish time where you're not seeing a lot of the good news, or at least I don't feel like I'm seeing a lot of the good news being covered by the news media outlets. And this is just a simple way to look at the MATIC price. All-time high, this is on a weekly chart, was closed off just a few hours ago, $2.22. And so this is a really clean, easy way. If you're new to charts, just leave it on a line chart. You can see some nice, easy swings there. Higher highs, higher lows. This is the bar here. Closing price, $2.22. And we've just seen a quick drop of around 5 to 6% at the moment. So we're currently trading at $2.09. But at the end of the day, this is the all-time high closing price. Now, of course, I know you probably think I'm taking the piss. The high price is $2.70, and just a week and a half ago, we hit a high of $2.58. But the closing prices are the most important. You can have these huge wicks to really high prices, and then the market crashes, and then you can see that the market continued to crash and has not reached that previous all-time high that was set back in mid-May until now, over 6 months later. So high closing prices are actually more important than high intra-day, intra-week prices. They sound good at the time, but you definitely want to see the strong horses, the strong cryptos that you're trading start to get high closing prices. And we're seeing that in MATIC at the moment. MATIC BTC also having a pretty strong close at the end of the week here, that was at a closing price of 4,759 Satoshis, also dropping about 5% now. And that close of the weekly bar was the second highest. But the good sign here is that this is on an uptrend as we're starting to get higher closes. This was at the end of an uptrend, but it came after a massive reversal. So that was the bar of the 24th of May. So for my analysis, this is a much stronger play, although it can take some time. Maybe not tomorrow that we burst to all-time highs or next hour, but it might take several weeks, maybe a few more months. It's a nice, long, slow accumulation, and those tend to lead to bigger bursts in price. As you can see from here with MATIC, this one as an example, 2019 down, 2020 down, 2021 started to make its climb, broke into new all-time highs. This is against its Bitcoin value as Bitcoin's going up, and then came back, tested those previous tops. If you throw it on log, you can really see what's happening here. And then it took off again. So it had good moves after a long accumulation and a dump to equal the previous lows as well. So this is a good thing when we have a long wind up. So MATIC is also still looking strong. Luna has pushed to new all-time highs again. Luna USD, again, a strong close. And if we bring on some lines onto this chart, which we've covered before, it's breaking out, attempting again to break out of its logarithmic overhead resistance. So that just means if it is going to break out, it should get that move on and should move pretty quickly at this point. And if it doesn't, then that, to me anyway, from my analysis, is a sign that we might drop back under the logarithmic and just continue to attempt to break out. And so we've had a couple of weeks of an attempt at the moment, a little close under, but we're starting to go at that again. So this could be one of those strange strong horse outliers during a market correction, as Bitcoin's dropping, as cryptos are going down, and things are looking a little weak. Luna BTC, again, new all-time highs, and it hit another high this week as, we're a few hours into this weekly bar, top at the moment, 0.00175 of a Bitcoin. So this is starting to look pretty overextended, but if it can continue to accumulate like it did throughout August, September, and October, when it took off in late November, then it has the possibility of continuing to do that because the trend is still up. So that's the positives. That's the stuff that is looking strong during the market at the moment. Something that is holding the rest of the market back. And yes, it tends to relate to news headlines, but we know in the sense of how the markets work, when you have a lot of bad news that's coming out and the markets aren't really dumping that much, we're seeing it as a bull market. So you probably heard me say that heaps of times before, a wall of worry. Markets tend to climb, bull markets tend to climb a wall of worry. And we can see a lot of worry here. The SEC delays decision on Grayscale and Bitwise. Spot Bitcoin ETF, this is a couple of days ago. We have the same old news continuing to resurface time and time again. So eventually it wears out on people and investors, and the smart money is starting to buy up as they see the news not really have that much effect on the market. And then you start to see them buy up, and eventually the dumb money, call it retail, whatever it needs to be called, they start to buy later because they like to feel safer. They like to feel in with the herd. And so the smart money has to be getting in earlier and just start to take signals from this market that we're continuing to climb a wall of worry. This could take weeks, could take months, but the macro view, which is something that we also cover, our 18-year cycle when it comes to the stock market and the property cycle, is still up for another several years. So the big picture here is that we're up. Fed doubles pace of tapering, so we're going to reduce that money supply, potentially increase some rates in 2022. Some other worrying news, let's get that word out. Australia is set for massive shake-up to crypto regulations. So this isn't going to affect a lot of people around the world, but just for the Aussies. And then when you look into the details of it, it talks about crypto. Well, it puts crypto in the title because crypto is trending. But buy now, pay it later is not trending. This was a really hot thing in Australia during 2020. People getting caught up in this, trying to trade the markets, make some big bucks off it. The Treasurer proposed regulation will also take aim at buy now, pay later services. More than 5 million accounts for such services exist in Australia. 5 million accounts there. In terms of crypto itself, more than 800,000 Australians own some form of crypto. This figure is about 3% of the population and much lower than previous estimates which we can see. They were basing the estimates on about 17%, when actually it's only about 3%. So the idea here is that we've got a lot of regulations, a lot of stuff happening at the moment, trying to make sense of what's going on in the market. And eventually it'll all come out, just like we have in the US as well, House meets crypto regulations. Eventually it'll come out. But at this point, it's just causing some fear in the markets. And from what I can see, the markets continue to climb a wall of worry. What is also worrying is the price of DOT and the DOT ecosystem, which is one of my preferred ecosystems at this point in time, but the prices are down. Yet the good news continues to come out. We have the parachains, which have just been launched. We have the 5 winners that have come out. The winning parachains from Polkadot's first batch of auctions were Akala, Moonbeam, Asta, Parallel Finance, and Clover. Now, you guys can let me know in the comments down below. If I have these numbers right, after building an impressive level of community support through crowd loans to the tune of nearly 100 million total DOT locked, all of them are now successfully onboarded and producing blocks. Now, I've left this to the end because if you made it this far, you deserve this sort of information. And I'm sure you guys are getting onto it if you're really into these ecosystems. Now, the auctions and the crowd loans on Polkadot, Moonbeam, Akala, Parallel, Asta, Clover Finance. These are the ones that have finished and they were the winners. These ones are refunded and then they attempt to win the next auction. So we have 5 more that are out there again. Affinity just misses out here by about 1 million DOT. So if we're looking at around 100 million projects raised, 113 million DOT, so about 2.7 billion. If they've raised about 100 million DOT, and this is just the top ones, and DOT has a total circulating supply of, call it a billion, so 987 million, for round numbers a billion, and now another 10% of that is locked. Sure, it could be the locked stuff that's getting staked as well. But if this continues to happen, and these stakes are then locked for 2 years, and I understand that some of them may not be locked for 2 years. Maybe they're locked for 4 periods, which are 3 months each. So I believe a period is called 3 months. So if you have 8 periods, that's 2 years. That's the full stake. Then that's going to be 100 million that's locked for the 2 stake. Now, if we get the next 5 that also get another 100 million, it's starting to look like the supply dries up pretty quick. Now, I'm just going from the Binance website here. I'm going from the Polkadot Parachains website here. I'm using the official stuff. If I've done my numbers right, you guys will obviously let me know. But that looks like we'll be getting a lot of DOT taken out of the ecosystem. Now, if you're locking up your DOT with these parachain auctions, then you do stand to make some return on your DOT, whether it's from the project as you see here. So, GLMR for the Moonbeam. This is what you need. This is the DOT. You get some rewards. I'm not going to go through each one of them. But yeah, you do get rewards for locking that up as well. But of course, Polkadot's also staked. Stake rate 63%, inflation 8.8. So there's obviously more DOT that is being pumped out onto the market. And so that's that supply and demand again. Basically, I can see the supply and demand eventually starting to weigh in the hands of the demand outstripping the supply at this point if the parachains are looking pretty successful. And in the way that it's actually worked, it sounds very, very good itself, the way that these parachains are working, because you have to continue to stake into this ecosystem in order to keep your space on the chain, which makes sense, which works similar to how business works. If you want to rent a shop, then you have to pay the rent to the landlord, and if you don't pay your rent, well, then you get kicked out. And generally, if you can't pay your rent, it's because the business isn't doing too well, or you want to go to a different space, or whatever might happen. But essentially, your business needs to be making money, and I think they've got it right here. I think Gavin Wood has got a pretty good plan here. It's just that the market is taking its time to see this. I think that's going to come across into a lot of the project as well. In particular, the one that I'm most interested in next is Affinity, which I've been mentioning to my members. And this price is down now. It's in the 80 cents. And basically, I'm keeping my eye on a lot of this ecosystem, especially with that supply demand and how the tokenomics work in this ecosystem. Basically, I'm excited for this. Prices are down. This can take a fair bit of time. It can take another several weeks to several months for it all to accumulate and work itself out until people realize this. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be going hard on this. I hope you guys can join me as well in the links down below. Remember, Bybit, 4,000 USD. There's Patreon. There's weekly newsletter, or this fortnightly newsletter, I should say. Check that out. It's all free. I'll see you guys at the next video. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you at the next one. Until then, have more fun to get more done.